Yo, what's up everyone? Get up. This is Valoramous. In today's music business tutorial, I want to discuss the three categories of B and C level or B and C list record labels and how you should properly categorize these record labels in your mind when you are determining whether you should release tracks with a record label or self-release. So if your track is signed to an A list or A level record label, basically one of the record labels at the top of the industry, then this information will not apply because you probably should accept that offer. So this is only going to address the B and C level record labels, basically those independent record labels that are managed by maybe one individual or a few individuals, but it's generally a smaller operation with a more limited budget. So if you are doing all the right things in terms of promotion and marketing of your own music, in some cases you may be able to compete or outright do better than these actual record labels. And that's why I think you should place these record labels in their proper categories. So the three main categories that I use is I have basically a positive category, I have a neutral category, and then I have a bad category. The positive category means that the record label upholds their end of the bargain in terms of the promotion and marketing. It means they create several pieces of social media content, they create the various pre-save campaign links, they create the album artwork, they send the track to radio shows, they try to find sync licensing deals, they submit the track to various Spotify playlist curators, and they promote the track and help you receive more than just a trickle of streams. Because at the end of the day, if you receive almost no streams in the music, then really what is the record label there for? At that point, you are just simply surrendering half of your master copyrighted royalties simply in order to brag to your friends and say that you have record label support on this track. So the top category I'd say is those record labels that are upholding their end of the bargain and they're making an honest effort to do all these tasks to receive their 50% of the master copyrighted royalties. The middle category I like to call the neutral category. Now, while this is not bad, I generally do not always want to work with record labels in this category, because if they're neutral, which means they're simply distributing your track and maybe creating album artwork and maybe creating one piece of social media content and maybe creating a Spotify pre-save link campaign, this is really the bare minimum, because as an independent artist, you can probably do all this stuff yourself. In fact, you should be able to do all this stuff yourself if you know how to produce, mix, and master music, because that is a complex task in and of itself. And so if you could do that, you could definitely manage these bare minimum tasks. So the neutral category of record labels are those record labels that operate more like a collective. They operate more like a distributor, which means you're effectively surrendering half of your royalties on the master copyright just to simply distribute your track and nothing more. So if you are dealing with a neutral record label, which means they're not shady, they're not scammy, they're not frauds, they're not grifters, you could release to this record label if you have no experience whatsoever with self-releasing or you don't even have a distributor. But I would almost recommend that you not release with them, simply because you can probably do better on your own. But at the end of the day, it's not bad, so you could use these record labels and at least you will not be ripped off. And now the third category is what I like to call the scam record labels. And the scam record labels will generally ask you for money up front. And these are the record labels that you should definitely avoid, because if they're already asking you for money without any evidence or any testimonials or any proof of what they're going to do on their end in terms of marketing and promotion, you should definitely receive this signal as a red flag, as a red siren, a bright red flag. If they're asking you to give them money for a mastering service, if they're asking you to give them money for promotion, if they're asking you to surrender more of your publishing rights, these are red flags. And I would generally place record labels in this category that ask for money up front, or they're asking you for money to join some sort of collective group. If they're asking you for money up front, these are the bad category of B and C level record labels, and I would implore you to avoid these record labels. So you have it. Those are my three categories for B and C level or B and C list record labels. I know that's a subjective term, B and C list, B and C level. How do I know if they're B or C? Well, simply identify all the top record labels, the ones that really everyone wants, and then everything below that is going to be B and C. There are good B-list record labels. There are record labels in this category that make an honest effort to promote and market your track. These are the record labels that you should strive to work for. I'm not going to name names because that is outside the scope of this video, but you will have to do your research, you will have to network. Some of it may be trial and error, but if you pay attention to these indicators and pay attention to the general descriptions that I provided, I think you will be able to adequately categorize these record labels when you have these interactions with these record labels when you submit your demos. Because the last thing I want to see is you as an independent artist surrender your royalties and either get scammed, which is the third category, or you simply surrender the royalties and there's just a bare minimum amount of effort on the part of the record label. Again, while it's not bad per se, once you know what you're doing, you may actually treat this as bad because you could do better on your own. So it's all about experience. I would encourage you to develop this experience to manage self-releases, and then at that point, you should really only be working with the B and C level or B and C list record labels that uphold their end of the bargain in terms of marketing and promotion. So there you have it. That is my quick video on the 3 categories of B and C level record labels in terms of marketing and promotion. Hope you learned something in this video, and I'll see you in the next one.